the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The whole thing was leading up to it. What did the United States cut off Japan from all the oil or something? Before that, there were trade wars going on. It was leading up to it.
Well, FDR manipulated the Japanese into that, knew it was coming, welcomed it, and rejoiced over it, because 2 weeks before, 80% of the American public was against getting involved in the war in Europe, and 2 weeks after, the numbers had reversed. 80% were in favor of it, and FDR knew that, and he concocted it to help out his second cousin, Winston Churchill, another bloodthirsty cretin who's been made a hero by history. See, what the presidents have done, and not just the four, FDR did it, Truman did it, Lincoln did it, and even Churchill did it, is to demonize the people you're going to kill.
Yep.
Just like we have demonized the terrorists, demonize them, and then praise the killing. Now, that does not turn an immoral act into a moral act just because you've demonized the victim, and you're throwing roses in the pathway of the killer. It is immoral to kill, always, everywhere, and under all circumstances, unless it's in self-defense, unless you have to kill somebody to stop them from killing somebody else. But if you demonize the other side, whether it's the Japanese, the Germans, the Italians in World War II, whether it's the Muslim groups now in the Middle East, then the public accepts the killing. So that's what the government has done. I mean, prior to these two authorizations to use military force, George W. Bush, though never of lucid mind, was very effective in demonizing the people he wanted to kill, so that when he started the killing, it was welcomed by the public. I despise Lincoln, but even a stopped clock can be right twice a day. He basically said, with public sentiment, nothing can fail, and without it, nothing can succeed. Bush understood that. Get the people behind you, and you can get away with anything. Anything.
Well, yeah. You also, how about Woodrow Wilson? There's another one.
Right.
You hate the Germans, and then again, it's everybody hates the Russians. They've been teaching us all our lives to hate the Russians. When we were kids, they had us hiding under a desk because the Russians were going to drop an atom bomb.
Right.
So it's the hate game that keeps going on, and to me, these people are mentally ill. We have mentally ill people running out and ruining our lives.
Yes. And now I'm going to say what you have said thousands of times. They're a criminal gang who steal our property and call it tax, who steal our liberty and call it legislation. And now they're going to send young American boys and some women into harm's way for what? For Lindsey Graham? For Vladimir Zelensky? Over a piece of earth that's been in dispute for 300 years as to which country owns it? That's what's coming.
And let's not forget about, we have to do something to protect Taiwan.
That's coming too.
Yeah.
I didn't see the whole interview, last night on CNN, so I don't know if Jake Tapper asked him about that, but he has said several times, we will defend Taiwan, even though the commander of the Pacific Fleet, the chief admiral for all of our ships from California to Japan, has basically said, we can't even get the troops and material to Taiwan to defend it if we wanted to, because the Chinese Navy has already surrounded Taiwan. Now, doesn't the president know that?
Again, it's none of our damn business.
Right.
It's been going on, since the Ming Dynasty?
Well, it's certainly been going on since at least 1948. I don't know if it goes back to the Ming Dynasty, but your point is well taken. Just like the Ukraine-Russian thing has been going back to the era of the czars in that part of Europe. And right now, Russia has the upper hand, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, Ukraine will have the upper hand. but has nothing to do with freedom, peace, dignity, life, liberty, and property in New York or Florida or California or Texas or Illinois or anywhere over here.
I know. And the people don't have a clue of how the Ukraine war escalated. They don't know anything about the Americans overthrowing the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in 2014. They have no clue of the deal between Gorbachev and Reagan and Bush that, quote, NATO would not move 1 inch further. There were 16 NATO countries. Now there are 30. They have no clue of how Ukraine violated the Minsk agreement after they had the revolution in 2014 and slaughtered some, 15,000 people in the Donbass region. They have no clue about that.
And they have no clue of the involvement of the CIA in that so-called revolution of 2014. The American terrorists whose salaries we pay out of Langley, Virginia.
Yeah. So we're in a very serious situation, and they keep talking about nuclear war, talking about it. So nuclear is now in the minds of the people. And I believe that, if we don't do something to stop this, and that we're doing everything we can, it's going to be hell on earth. And what kind of imbecile moron jerk would, we got a bomb shelter. Oh, great. After nuclear explosions and it's hell on earth, you're going to come out of your bomb shelter and just have a very wonderful time? How sick can you be?
Yeah.
And I don't, we're doing everything we can, with the Occupy Peace movement and the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice. We're fighting for peace, and we're warriors for the Prince of Peace. But we're the rest of the people, and of course, there's the Ritters and the Geraldis and the McGregors and yourself, myself, and a number of others. But where are the rest of the people uniting, and where are the religions? What God do you believe in that believes in war?
You had 500 people in your garden, just a couple of feet from where you are now, at the end of July for a peace rally. 500 people from all across the country and all across the demographic spectrum in the United States. And it didn't make a blip on the radar screen of the news media. If we had 500 people there calling for Putin's assassination, all the major networks would have been there and would have picked it up.
Yep. And we sent out thousands of press releases over the course of 3 weeks.
Right.
And
the government has acclimated the American people to war. Every time, you're right. Every time Biden points his finger metaphorically at Putin, he's acclimating the American people to some sort of disastrous involvement.
In which we're already in. We sent almost $70 billion there already. As the roads are rotted, homeless are all over the place, and the country's 60% of the people in America, it's in this Trends Journal this week, are living paycheck to paycheck. 60%. And now what you have is not only 60% of living paycheck to paycheck, 45% of the people that are earning 6 figures are living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
And we're sending all this money for war. And again, who are we doing it for? The military industrial complex.
Correct. I think your viewers know that we are supplying the Ukraine military with our own surplus. And so the surpluses have been depleted. According to McGregor, we've depleted all the surplus, and we're now supplying them with equipment that we ourselves may need. But that, of course, also triggers invoices to Raytheon and Halliburton to start making more. So a lot of the $60 billion doesn't go directly to Ukraine. It goes to the military-industrial complex.
Of course.
Ukraine is getting stuff that's already been paid for. Where does the $60 billion come from? Borrowed. The feds don't have any money, so they borrowed it. And where are interest rates going? Up. So it's going to cost the grandchildren of the people listening to us now astronomical figures to pay the debt service, because the feds never retire the principal. They'll just keep paying that debt service for generations. Right now, the debt is up to 31 trillion. That goes all the way back. We mentioned him a few minutes ago to Woodrow Wilson, who borrowed 30 billion to fund World War I. The principal is still owed. It's been rolled over, so it's not owed to the same people, but it's never been retired. It's still owed. How much interest has been paid in that 30 billion? 15 billion. Only the federal government would pay the equivalent of a 50% interest rate on the money that it has borrowed for an utterly useless, totally immoral, now 100-year-old war.
And it just keeps going. Again,
Right.
We had the midterm elections coming up, and then the presidential elections in 2024. If we don't have a new third party, we're finished. It's this kind, and again, you don't have to worry about the grandchildren. They might not even be here because they're going to have us wiped off the earth. World War II is not ancient history. Civilization was quite high back then in the 1930s and 40s. We were in, an ancient civilization. And you look at the destruction, the death, and the murder, and the same thing is going to happen now if we don't stop this. So, anybody, have any ideas on what to do, please email us. We're doing everything we can. Thank you, Judge, for being on today, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, all the best, Gerald. Thank you.